Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. And today, we're going to be talking about who should be the New England Patriots starting quarterback, Jacoby Brissett or Drake Maye. There's a little bit of controversy after last night's game against the New York Jets, Thursday Night Football. The New York Jets end up beating the Patriots pretty badly, 24-3. Jacoby Brissett looks pretty bad. They're 12 for 18 with 90 passing yards, was sacked quite a bit. I think it was like 3 or 4 times. Didn't throw an interception, though, nor did he fumble. There was a fumble for the Patriots, and it was Ramondre Stevenson, but he didn't turn the ball over at all, besides being sacked a whole bunch. And there were some good throws that he threw that, were not caught. There were some good throws. It just looks like it's the wide receiver fault. But Drake Maye came in late in the game and looked pretty solid, made some nice short throws, threw for 22 passing yards, ran for 12 rushing yards, was pretty solid, looked good, right? But should he be the starting quarterback? Absolutely not. I'm not saying Drake Maye is not ready. I'm not saying he shouldn't be the starter. I'm saying he shouldn't be the starter now. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be the starting quarterback, but I think if any team with a rookie quarterback decided to start their rookie quarterback on a road game in San Francisco for their first NFL start, they're absolutely crazy. I think Drake Maye has good potential. I think once he gets his chance this year, I think he's going to really impress New England, and I think he's going to do some good things. I'm really excited to see when he gets his chance. But should he be the starter now? Absolutely not. Should he be the starter? Probably yes. But now, no. Not, especially when, they're about to match up against the New York Jets. Against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I talked about this earlier a couple weeks ago when Gerard Mayo announced that he was starting Jacoby Brissett week 1. They announced him as the starting quarterback. I talked about this specific thing. I said through the first 4 weeks of the season, you should not see Drake Maye starting. And the good time to potentially bring him into things would be week 5 and week 6. And I'm going to go over this. I talked about how a rookie quarterback should not be dealing with the first 4 games that the New England Patriots have on their schedule. Start off with a road game in Cincinnati against a good team. That is not something you want to deal with. Obviously, we know the Patriots won that game mainly because of their run game. Their run game was dominant. Now, the next game was against Seattle. I don't think that would have been too terrible for Drake Maye, but Seattle does have a solid defense with a good secondary. So that's something to think about. Obviously, the Patriots' run game killed in that game as well. And then, of course, we know what happened to the Jets with the Jets last night. Jacoby Brissett got killed. I don't think it would have been any better with Drake Maye last night. It might have been worse going up against that defense. Jacoby Brissett is a veteran with a lot of experience compared to a rookie, Drake Maye. That would have been his first start. I mean, it would have been bad. And then, obviously, next week against San Francisco. So I talked about, when I did a video about them announcing Jacoby as the starter, I talked about how these first 4 games would be very tough for Drake Maye. And it's something that if he struggled, that's not a great start off to boost his confidence. That would actually bring down his confidence. And then you get to week 5 and you get to week 6. It's finally a home stretch a little bit. Throughout the first 4 games, it's mostly road games. You got a Cincinnati road game. Yes, you do. Last week, they played the Seahawks at home, but last night we saw them playing in New York. We'll see them playing in San Francisco next Sunday. But week 5 and week 6, it turns around because then they will play the Texans and the Dolphins at home. Now, look, those aren't amazing matchups. The Texans got a great defensive line. They got Will Anderson Jr. and they got Danielle Hunter. I'm a Texans fan. That's a tough defensive matchup. And then the Dolphins, they have some solid defensive players as well. Those are tough matchups. But it's not like having to go up against San Francisco and New York at all. So if New England wants to, I think a good timetable for him to get his first start to become the starter is week 5, week 6. Honestly, I think this upcoming week against San Francisco, I don't put him in the game at all. Jacoby Brissett can be playing terrible football. I think it'd have to be really bad for Jacoby Brissett to put in Drake Maye. I don't think you want to expose him to that San Francisco defense. Number one, you don't want him to get hurt. That's one of the reasons why I didn't like them bringing him in against New York last night. New York has a great defensive line. I know it's late game situation, but that's your 3rd overall pick right there. You do not want him to get hurt right there. In the end of the game, that is something you'd regret. That's why I didn't like the decision to bring him in late in the game against New York. So if you do that again against San Francisco, that's another great defensive line right there. Great all-around defense, just like the Jets, if not better. So with that being said, you do not want your rookie quarterback, your 3rd overall quarterback, to get hurt. Now, I'm not saying just because Drake Maye is valuable, we got to keep Jacoby Brissett in the game because he's not valuable, because I think Jacoby is valuable as well. But, you cannot risk Drake Maye getting injured. And honestly, I don't think Drake Maye is really that important right now. We have seen early on in the first couple weeks of the season, not including the Jets game last night, but the first 2 games of the season against Seattle and Cincinnati, this Patriots team, they're good with the run. Even though Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson weren't the best last night against New York's defense, Stevenson is still number 4 in rushing yards out of all running backs, and Antonio Gibson is number 16 out of all running backs. The Patriots' 2 running backs are both in the top 16 in rushing yards this season throughout the first 3 weeks. And I know, both Stevenson and Gibson have played 3 games and everybody else has played 2. But we're talking about Gibson, who only had 29 rushing yards, and Stevenson only had 19 last night. So throughout the first 2 weeks of the season, both of those guys against Seattle and Cincinnati have done really good. If the Patriots are going to win ball games, it's going to be with the run game. I'm not saying, Drake, if they give Drake Maye the opportunity, that he's not going to be good, but I think it's mainly going to be him handing the ball off. That doesn't mean we can't see him making his own plays, whether it's his own QB runs or throwing to his tight ends in Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry, or the couple wide receivers that we know can do some good things, Kendrick Bourne and Douglas, KJ Osborne. They are some solid wide receivers, but I still think even if Drake Maye is the starter, their identity is still running the football because we saw in the first 2 weeks that was their identity, and they were really good with it. Scored 36 points in the first 2 games of the season. Nearly, if it wasn't for a bad overtime loss, they'd be 2-0 in the first 2 games of the season, and then get to that 3rd game of the season, their run game starts to get stopped. There is no offense. There is no identity. There's only 3 points on the scoreboard instead of 36 through the first 2 games. So if they can get that run game going again like it was in the first 2 weeks, New England could win some ball games this year. But if they don't get the run game going, New England's going to be very horrendous on offense this year. But I think New England is potentially a bigger threat than people think they are. Because right now I think everybody kind of thinks New England as the bottom seed in the AFC right now. But if that run game gets activated and the defense is doing good, they're going to win some more ball games than people think. I'm not saying New England's a playoff team, but I'm thinking they're more of a 6 to 8 win team than a 3 to 5 win team if the run game and the defense gets synced in at the same time. But let me know your thoughts on the Patriots starting quarterback dilemma. Do you think Jacoby Brissett or Drake Maye should be the starter? I think what we've seen from Jacoby Brissett in the first 3 games, 42 for 69, 368 passing yards, and a passing touchdown with no interceptions, no fumbles. I think that he deserves to be the starter for at least one more game. But if it gets to the point where he really struggles against San Francisco, and you don't have to fear for Drake Maye going up against those really good defenses anymore, and then you're going into the 2-game home stretch against the Texans and the Dolphins, I think if Jacoby really struggles against San Francisco, it's time to lean towards the rookie quarterback and Drake Maye going into week 5. But as of right now, going into week 4, Jacoby Brissett should still be the Patriots starting quarterback. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.